Morning arrives slowly over the dry scrublands of western India. The sun has not yet cleared the horizon, but the light has begun to soften the darkness that clings to the thorn forest and scattered grasslands. A faint wind moves through the acacia trees, brushing dry leaves together with a quiet, restless sound. The air carries the smell of dust, warm soil, and distant waterholes, shrinking under the weight of a long, dry season. The land is already awake. Partridges call from the undergrowth. A peacock cries somewhere beyond the tree line. Insects hum low over patches of brittle grass, and small rodents slip between burrows before the heat of the day forces them underground again. Near a cluster of exposed roots at the base of a thorn bush, a small predator emerges. The mongoose moves with quick precision, its slender body flowing low across the ground. Its fur catches the early light in shades of brown and gray, blending almost perfectly with the dry earth. The animal pauses every few seconds, lifting its head, testing the air, scanning for movement. Everything about the mongoose is designed for alertness. Its eyes track even the smallest disturbances in the grass. Its ears rotate toward faint vibrations. Beneath its skin, muscles remain ready to react in fractions of a second. But this landscape holds dangers that require more than speed alone. Somewhere nearby, hidden beneath a tangle of dry branches and fallen leaves, another hunter lies still. Unlike the restless mongoose, this predator survives through silence and patience. Its body is long, cold, and coiled tightly against the ground, waiting for warmth and opportunity. The snake has not moved for hours. Yet both animals now occupy the same narrow stretch of land, two specialists shaped by evolution to defeat the other. Neither knows that within moments, instinct will draw them into one of nature's most famous confrontations, a contest of reflex, venom, and survival. Across the dry forests and scrublands of South Asia, the small mammal known as the mongoose occupies a unique ecological position. Members of the family Herpestidae, mongooses are carnivorous mammals that evolved millions of years ago within the diverse predator communities of Africa and Asia. Over time, several species adapted to live alongside some of the world's most dangerous reptiles. Among them, the Indian gray mongoose has become one of the most recognized snake predators in the region. Its body rarely exceeds half a meter in length, yet the mongoose possesses an extraordinary combination of speed, coordination, and sensory awareness. Its nervous system is tuned for rapid reflexes. Muscles along its spine and limbs allow explosive bursts of movement, enabling the animal to dodge strikes that occur faster than the blink of an eye. But its advantage does not lie in speed alone. Research into mongoose physiology has revealed an additional layer of protection. Certain mongoose species possess modified acetylcholine receptors in their nervous systems. These slight molecular changes reduce the ability of neurotoxins, particularly those delivered by cobra venom, to bind effectively to nerve cells. This does not make the mongoose immune to venom, but provides a degree of resistance that can mean the difference between life and death in a confrontation. In ecosystems where venomous snakes play a dominant role, such adaptations are not coincidences. They are the result of a long evolutionary arms race between predator and prey. The mongoose itself is not specialized exclusively for snakes. In reality, it is an opportunistic hunter. Its diet includes rodents, insects, lizards, eggs, small birds, and occasionally fruit. This flexible feeding strategy allows the species to survive in environments where food availability fluctuates dramatically across seasons. During the dry months, when water sources shrink and vegetation thins, rodents become more visible as they search for seeds and shelter. For the mongoose, this seasonal exposure creates hunting opportunities that shape its daily routines. The animal typically hunts alone, covering large territories with methodical persistence. It moves through grasses, shrubs, and fallen branches with its nose close to the ground, constantly reading chemical traces left by other animals. Unlike larger predators that rely heavily on vision or ambush, the mongoose uses a combination of scent detection and rapid visual response to locate prey. Its skull structure reflects this lifestyle. Strong jaw muscles anchor to a compact skull, allowing the mongoose to deliver powerful bites relative to its size. Its teeth are sharp and adapted for puncturing small vertebrates, crushing insect shells, and gripping struggling prey. But perhaps the mongoose's most famous reputation arises from its encounters with snakes. Throughout rural landscapes across India and parts of Southeast Asia, Farmers have long observed these animals confronting venomous reptiles. These encounters are not acts of aggression or dominance. They are simply part of the predator-prey dynamics of the ecosystem. A snake represents both a threat and a potential meal. Scientific observations of mongoose-snake interactions reveal a complex pattern of behavior. When a mongoose detects a snake, it rarely rushes directly into attack. Instead, it enters a cautious display of probing movements, circling, darting forward and backward, testing the snake's reaction speed. This behavior serves a clear biological function. Snakes such as cobras possess lightning-fast strike speeds, capable of delivering venom through hollow fangs in less than a tenth of a second. For a small mammal, a direct strike can be fatal. The mongoose therefore relies on a strategy built around provoking repeated strikes while staying just outside the range of contact. Each failed strike drains the snake's energy and gradually reveals the rhythm of its movement. Over time, the mongoose waits for the single moment when the snake's body alignment exposes the back of the head or neck. That is the critical point. A well-placed bite delivered in that instant can disable the snake before it can strike again. Yet this outcome is never guaranteed. Many encounters end without conflict. If the snake withdraws into cover or escapes through dense vegetation, the mongoose may simply abandon the chase and resume hunting other prey. Energy conservation remains a central principle of survival in the wild. Because of this, the legendary battles between mongoose and cobra represent only a small fraction of their real interactions. Most of the time, both animals avoid unnecessary risk. Still, when conditions force them into close proximity, when territory overlaps and escape routes disappear, the confrontation becomes inevitable. And in those moments, two very different evolutionary strategies collide: the patient precision of the snake and the explosive reflexes of a mongoose. Across the same landscapes where the mongoose hunts, venomous snakes occupy a very different ecological role. Reptiles such as the Indian cobra, the common crite, and several species of viper form part of a complex predator network that regulates populations of rodents, amphibians, and other small animals. Among these reptiles, the cobra has become one of the most studied species due to its distinctive defensive behavior and potent venom. The Indian cobra, Naja, is a member of the Elapidae family, a group of snakes characterized by fixed front fangs and highly efficient neurotoxic venom. These snakes are distributed across a wide range of habitats, from agricultural fields and forest edges to dry scrublands and river valleys. Their success as predators comes from a combination of stealth, venom efficiency, and a highly developed sensory system that allows them to detect subtle changes in their environment. Unlike mammals, snakes do not rely on external ears to hear sound. Instead, they detect vibrations through their lower jaw, which rests directly against the ground. These vibrations travel through bone structures into the inner ear, allowing the snake to perceive movement nearby. Combined with sensitive vision and the chemical detection abilities of the forked tongue and Jacobson's organ, this system provides an effective way to locate prey or approaching threats. The cobra's hunting strategy is built around ambush. Rodents, frogs, and small birds often become its prey. When the snake detects movement within striking distance, it coils its body and launches forward with remarkable speed. The fangs penetrate the prey's body, injecting venom designed to disrupt nerve signaling. Within minutes, paralysis spreads to the victim's muscles, preventing escape. This same venom, however, is primarily intended for hunting, not for prolonged combat. For the cobra, encounters with large animals represent danger rather than opportunity. When threatened, it performs one of the most recognizable defensive displays in the animal kingdom. The snake raises the front portion of its body off the ground, spreading specialized ribs along its neck to form the iconic hood. This posture increases the snake's apparent size while signaling readiness to strike. At the same time, the cobra produces a low, sustained hiss by forcing air through its respiratory system. The display is not meant to initiate battle. It is a warning. Most large animals interpret this signal correctly and retreat, but the mongoose is different. Its evolutionary history has equipped it to read these signals not as intimidation, but as information. The raised hood reveals the snake's orientation. The expansion of the neck muscles changes the angles of the strike. In effect, The cobra's defensive posture provides a mongoose with visual cues about timing and direction. Biologists studying these encounters have observed that mongooses often provoke the snake deliberately. Quick feints and sudden darts forward trigger defensive strikes from the cobra. Each strike forces a snake to extend its body and briefly commit to a single direction of motion. During that fraction of a second, the mongoose studies the snake's rhythm. Over repeated exchanges, the mammal gradually narrows the margin of uncertainty. Its movement becomes sharper, more precise. The goal is not brute force, but timing, the perfect instant when the snake's head is momentarily exposed after a failed strike. Yet even with these advantages, the outcome remains unpredictable. Cobras can adjust their strike trajectory in mid-motion. A successful bite can inject enough venom to overwhelm even a partially resistant nervous system. Field observations show that young or inexperienced mongooses occasionally misjudge distance, suffering fatal consequences. Nature offers no guarantees. The relationship between mongoose and snake therefore represents more than a simple predator-prey interaction. It is an evolutionary dialogue played out over millions of years. Each species refines its defenses while the other adapts in response. The mongoose becomes faster. The snake becomes more precise. And in the narrow spaces where their territories overlap, among roots, stones, and dry grass, these ancient strategies meet in sudden, explosive encounters. In the ecology of small predators, survival is rarely defined by strength alone. For the mongoose, success depends on a biological strategy built around reaction speed, precision, and neurological resilience. Among mammals of its size, few possess such finely tuned reflexes. High-speed recordings of mongoose. Snake encounters show the animal can react to movement in less than a tenth of a second, allowing it to dodge strikes that would easily kill slower mammals. This rapid response originates in both muscle structure and neural processing. The mongoose's spinal column is flexible, allowing the body to coil and spring sideways with explosive force. At the same time, its visual system detects motion extremely well, particularly small, fast movements that might indicate prey or danger. Yet the advantage is not absolute. Venomous snakes evolved their own remarkable adaptations long before mongooses appeared in their ecosystems. Cobra strikes can travel several body lengths in a single burst, driven by powerful muscles along the snake's spine. The strike is guided not by aggression, but by instinct, a defensive reflex designed to neutralize threats quickly. The encounter therefore becomes a contest of microseconds. If the mongoose reacts too late, the snake's fangs connect. If the snake commits too early, the mongoose slips aside and counters. Observational studies suggest that many mongooses avoid prolonged engagements entirely, abandoning the confrontation if the snake remains coiled and defensive for too long. The risk is simply too high. This delicate balance reveals an important principle of survival biology. Animals rarely fight unless circumstances demand it. Energy conservation and injury avoidance shape most decisions in the wild. For both mongoose and cobra, a serious wound can mean slow death through infection or starvation. Their interactions, therefore, are governed not by dominance, but by calculation, instinctive, rapid, and unforgiving. Another dimension of this relationship lies in behavior and instinct. Mongooses are not born knowing how to defeat snakes. Juveniles must learn through observation and practice, gradually refining their reactions as they mature. In regions where cobras and other venomous snakes are common, young mongooses often witness adult confrontations within their territory. Field researchers studying Indian gray mongoose populations have documented how younger animals mimic the darting movements of experienced adults. Early attempts are cautious and often limited to harassment rather than full attacks. Through repeated exposure, the young predator begins to understand the timing of the snake's strike and the importance of attacking from the correct angle. The snake, however, is guided by an entirely different evolutionary logic. Unlike mammals, snakes do not learn through imitation. Their behavior relies heavily on instinct shaped by millions of years of natural selection. The cobra's hood display, its defensive hiss, and its strike posture are pre-programmed responses triggered by perceived threats. When confronted by a mongoose, the cobra strategy becomes one of deterrence. It raises its body, spreads its hood, and attempts to appear larger and more dangerous. The hope is simple: intimidate the attacker into retreat before physical contact becomes necessary. But the mongoose rarely responds to intimidation alone. Instead, it probes. Quick movements draw defensive reactions from the snake, gradually forcing the reptile to expend energy. Over time, fatigue and repeated strikes may create the moment the mongoose seeks. A slight delay, a misaligned coil, a brief exposure to the neck. These encounters can last minutes or end in seconds. Sometimes the snake escapes. Sometimes the mongoose retreats. Occasionally, one of them dies. Each outcome becomes part of the ongoing evolutionary conversation between predator and predator. A third perspective emerges when examining the ecological role both animals play within their shared environment. Neither the mongoose nor the snake exists in isolation. Each is part of a larger web of relationships that regulate populations and maintain balance within the ecosystem. Rodents, for example, form the primary prey base for many small predators across South Asia. Agricultural landscapes often support large numbers of rats and mice, particularly during harvest seasons when food is abundant. These rodents consume seeds, damage crops, and reproduce rapidly when conditions allow. Snakes play an essential role in controlling these populations. A single adult cobra can consume dozens of rodents over the course of a year. By removing weak or abundant individuals, the snake indirectly protects plant life and reduces the spread of disease associated with dense rodent colonies. The mongoose, however, also feeds heavily on rodents. In this sense, the two animals occupy partially overlapping ecological niches. They are not enemies in a moral sense, but competitors shaped by similar food resources. When the mongoose kills a snake, the immediate result may appear dramatic, yet the broader ecological picture remains complex. Removing one snake from the landscape does not eliminate its role entirely. Other snakes continue hunting nearby. Likewise, the mongoose must constantly search for prey to sustain itself. Its metabolism demands frequent meals, forcing it to patrol large territories every day. Predation, in nature, is rarely about rivalry. It is about opportunity. If a mongoose encounters a snake that appears vulnerable, perhaps weakened by cold temperatures or caught in exposed terrain, it may attack. But if the snake remains alert and well-positioned for defense, the mongoose may choose to move on and hunt easier prey. This flexible decision-making highlights the pragmatic logic of wild animals. Survival depends not on victory in every encounter, but on avoiding unnecessary risk while securing enough food to endure. A final angle reveals itself in the physical language of the confrontation itself. When a mongoose and snake meet, their movements create a pattern of signals and responses that unfold almost too quickly for the human eye to follow. The mongoose approaches with its body low to the ground, tail extended behind it for balance. Its fur begins to rise slightly, making the animal appear larger. This piloerection is not merely visual. It may help cushion superficial bites by increasing the thickness of the fur layer. The snake responds by elevating the front portion of its body. Muscles spread the ribs behind the neck, forming the cobra's hood. The reptile sways slowly from side to side, tracking the mongoose's position. Then the rhythm begins. The mongoose darts forward, just within striking distance, then instantly retreats. The cobra reacts with a strike, extending its body toward the perceived threat. The mongoose twists sideways and escapes, sometimes by only a few centimeters. For several seconds, both animals reset. Again the mongoose advances. Again the cobra strikes. Each movement provides information. The mongoose learns how quickly the snake can extend its body. The snake attempts to predict the mammal's direction of retreat. This exchange continues until one animal miscalculates. If the snake strikes too far, it may expose the vulnerable back of its neck. If the mongoose advances too slowly, the snake's fangs may reach their target. What appears to observers as a dramatic battle is, in biological terms, a sequence of rapid tests, an instinctive assessment of risk carried out through movement rather than thought. And somewhere within this precise dance of reflexes, the balance of survival begins to shift. The sun now hangs higher above the scrublands, and the cool softness of morning begins to fade. Heat slowly rises from the ground, carrying the scent of dust and dry vegetation. Insects grow louder, their steady hum filling the spaces between the scattered thorn bushes. Near the fallen log, where shade still clings to the earth, the confrontation tightens. The mongoose circles carefully, each step deliberate. Its body remains low, muscles coil beneath a thin frame built for sudden motion. The animal's eyes never leave the snake. Every shift in the reptile's body is measured and absorbed in silence. Opposite it, the cobra maintains its defensive posture. The front third of the snake's body rises from the ground, hood fully expanded. Dark markings along the back of the hood form the familiar spectacle pattern, a signal displayed across generations of cobras to warn approaching animals. The snake sways slowly from side to side, tracking the mongoose's position with unwavering focus. The air between them feels charged with stillness. For several seconds, neither animal advances. Then the mongoose makes the first move. It darts forward with sudden speed, stopping just at the edge of striking distance before springing back again. The cobra reacts instantly. Its body lashes outward in a violent strike, fangs cutting through empty air where the mongoose stood a moment earlier. The strike fails, but the cobra does not retreat. It recoils into its defensive position, hood still raised, body tense and ready for another attempt. The mongoose begins to circle again. Each movement is small but purposeful. The animal shifts left, then right, testing the snake's ability to follow. Occasionally, it makes another quick feint, drawing a partial strike from the cobra before slipping away. Minutes pass in this pattern. The snake's strikes become slightly slower, each extension costing energy. Though reptiles are efficient predators, rapid, repeated strikes demand muscular effort. The cobra must repeatedly lift its body from the ground and project it forward, only to coil back again. The mongoose, by contrast, expends energy in short bursts. Its strategy relies on speed rather than endurance. Gradually, the rhythm of the encounter begins to change. The cobra's movements remain precise, but faint hesitation appears after each strike. The hood lowers briefly before rising again. The swaying motion becomes less steady. The mongoose notices. It moves closer now, pushing the boundary of danger. Another dart forward triggers a defensive strike. Again, the mongoose escapes, twisting its body sideways with remarkable agility. Dust lifts from the ground beneath their feet. Both animals are fully committed to the confrontation now. Escape routes have narrowed. The snake cannot easily retreat without exposing its body, and the mongoose senses a growing fatigue of its opponent. Yet, the cobra still holds its most dangerous weapon. One successful strike could end the encounter instantly. The mongoose inches forward again, closer than before, its first stand slightly on end, tail rigid for balance. The distance between predator and predator shrinks to less than a body length. The cobra sways once more, head following the smallest movement. Then suddenly, the mongoose lunges. But this time, the cobra anticipates the motion. The snake launches a faster strike than any before, its body extended with explosive force toward the mongoose's head. For a fraction of a second, the outcome hangs in uncertainty. For an instant that lasts less than a heartbeat, the air between them collapses into motion. The cobra's body launches forward with extraordinary speed. Muscles along its spine contract in chain of force, driving ahead toward the mongoose with lethal precision. The fangs extend, ready to deliver venom that can disrupt nerve signals within minutes. But the mongoose has already begun to move. Its body twists sharply to the side, hind legs pushing against the loose soil. The snake's strike cuts through the space where the mongoose's head had been a fraction of a second earlier. The fangs graze only fur. The cobra lands and immediately recoils, attempting to regain its defensive posture. But something has changed. In that brief overextension, the snake's body stretched farther than before. The coil loosened slightly. The head dipped lower as the reptile pulled itself back toward the ground. For the mongoose, this is the opening evolution has prepared it to recognize. It springs forward again, this time not as a feint but as a commitment. The mongoose closes the distance in a blur of motion. Its jaws aim for the one vulnerable point along the snake's body, the narrow region just behind the head where the spine meets the skull. The cobra reacts instantly, twisting its body in a desperate attempt to strike again. But the mongoose's movement is already inside the arc of the snake's reach. Teeth clamp down. For a brief moment, both animals struggle violently. The snake coils around the mongoose's body, its muscular length wrapping in tight loops designed to push the attacker away. Dust rises as the two bodies thrash across the ground. The mongoose holds its grip. Its jaws tighten with remarkable strength for such a small predator. By locking onto the back of the snake's neck, it prevents the cobra from turning its head far enough to deliver another strike. The snake continues to writhe, coils tightening and loosening in rapid succession. This final resistance is powerful but uncoordinated. Without control of its head, the cobra's most effective weapon is neutralized. Seconds pass. Gradually, the violent motion begins to slow. The mongoose adjusts its bite, pressing down with its jaws while its body braces against the ground. The snake's coils loosen. The swaying hood collapses flat against the earth. Eventually, the cobra's movements become faint, then still. Silence returns to the scrubland. The mongoose releases its grip, but does not immediately retreat. It steps back cautiously, watching the snake for any final motion. Only after several seconds does the small predator approach again, sniffing the body to confirm the threat has ended. For the mongoose, the encounter is not an act of conquest. It is simply survival. A dangerous competitor has become a meal. The sun climbs higher above the thorn trees as the mongoose begins to drag the snake's body toward the shade. In this dry landscape, food cannot be wasted. The animal will feed carefully, tearing small sections of flesh and resting between bites. Around them, the ecosystem continues its quiet rhythm. Birds return to branches. Insects resume their steady hum. Far away, other predators move through the grass, searching for their own chances of survival. What occurred here is neither rare nor extraordinary in the natural world. It is one moment in an ancient balance between hunter and hunted, predator and rival, played out countless times across the landscapes where their lives intersect. The mongoose pauses beside the fallen snake, breathing steadily as the dust settles back onto dry earth. The violent motion that filled the clearing only moments earlier has faded into stillness. Around the two animals, the landscape resumes its quiet rhythm. A breeze moves through brittle grass, and somewhere in the distance the partridge calls again, unaware that a life-and-death encounter has just ended beneath the thorn trees. For the mongoose, the immediate aftermath is defined not by triumph but by caution. Small predators rarely assume danger has passed too quickly. The mongoose circles the snake's body once more, nose close to the ground, reading the scent and watching for the smallest movement. Even a dying snake can deliver a final reflex strike. Instinct demands patience. Only after several careful moments does the mongoose begin to feed. It grips the snake again behind the head and drags the body slightly into deeper shade. This behavior has been documented in many field observations. Shade reduces exposure to aerial predators and helps conserve the predator's own energy during feeding. In the heat of the late morning sun, even small mammals must avoid unnecessary exertion. The mongoose tears small sections of flesh using its sharp teeth, pausing frequently to scan its surroundings. Every few seconds the animal lifts its head, ears turning toward faint sounds carried by the wind. Feeding in the wild is never a relaxed activity. The mongoose itself remains prey to larger hunters. Raptors such as crested serpent eagles patrol these landscapes, their keen vision capable of detecting movement from high above. Jackals and feral dogs may also investigate the scent of a fresh kill. Even other mongooses could attempt to steal a portion of the carcass if they encounter it. Because of this constant pressure, the mongoose feeds quickly. Snakes represent a valuable source of protein and fat, but they are not the animal's only food. Within a few hours, the mongoose may abandon the remaining body and continue hunting insects, rodents, or bird eggs elsewhere in its territory. Opportunistic feeding allows it to take advantage of many different food sources rather than depending on one. Meanwhile, the removal of the cobra has subtle consequences for the surrounding ecosystem. The snake had occupied a position in the local predator hierarchy, regulating populations of rodents and amphibians within this small territory. Its absence will not immediately transform the landscape, but over time, such changes ripple through the environment. Another snake may eventually claim the same hunting ground, restoring the balance that existed before. Nature rarely leaves ecological space unfilled for long. This dynamic equilibrium, where predators regulate prey and predators themselves are replaced, forms the foundation of healthy ecosystems. Every species contributes to the shifting pattern of abundance and scarcity that shapes life across a region. For the mongoose, however, the larger ecological picture is irrelevant. Its world is defined by immediate needs: food, safety, territory, and reproduction. Having secured a meal and survived a dangerous encounter, the animal resumes the quiet vigilance that governs every moment of its existence. As the day wears on, the mongoose retreats to a shaded nook beneath the acacia roots. Its breathing slows, muscles relaxing after the intense exertion of the encounter. While the immediate threat has ended, the physical toll on the small predator is apparent. Muscles remain taut from repeated bursts of motion, and minor scratches along the legs and face bear witness to the snake's final defensive strikes. Even a successful mongoose battle leaves subtle scars, reminders that survival is never without cost. The snake, by contrast, has been removed from the ecosystem's living network. Its body, if left exposed, will gradually be scavenged by ants, birds, and small mammals. In this way, even death contributes to life. Nutrients return to the soil, supporting plant growth, which in turn sustains herbivores, and the cycle continues. Nature, impartial and unyielding, converts a dangerous competitor into sustenance for the living. Socially, the mongoose may receive indirect benefits from the encounter. Field studies of Indian gray mongoose populations show that successful predation events provide nourishment that supports reproductive fitness. A well-fed adult is more likely to maintain territory, invest in raising offspring, and endure periods of food scarcity. While this encounter involved no direct social interaction, it reinforces the animal's position within its environment, strengthening its ability to persist in the challenging scrubland ecosystem. Across the broader landscape, the absence of the cobra subtly alters local predator-prey dynamics. Rodent populations in the immediate area may experience a brief increase until another snake or predator fills the void. Other predators, from small carnivores to raptors, adjust their foraging patterns in response to changing prey availability. In this sense, each confrontation, each life taken, echoes beyond the immediate participants, influencing the complex web of interactions that sustain the ecosystem. For the mongoose, the lesson is immediate. Risk pays off, but only when executed with precision, patience, and instinct. The encounter reinforces a fundamental principle observed repeatedly in wildlife studies. Survival depends not on dominance, but on the continuous assessment of danger and opportunity. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, the mongoose moves on, leaving behind both the snake and the small clearing where the battle unfolded. The ecosystem quietly reasserts its rhythm. Life and death, predator and prey, struggle and survival, all proceed according to natural law, without pause or judgment. The sun dips low, casting long shadows across the thorn-strewn scrubland. Dust rises faintly on the breeze, carrying with the scent of earth and vegetation that have endured the day's heat. In this quiet, the mongoose pauses briefly atop a small mound, surveying its surroundings. There is no triumph here, no sense of conquest, only the calm continuation of life, shaped by instinct and necessity. Nature is indifferent. The cobra that once threatened the mongoose is now reduced to nourishment, its role in the predator hierarchy fulfilled, and its body returned to the ecosystem. The mongoose, like all creatures, acts not from malice or morality, but from survival, the endless drive to exist, feed, and reproduce in a world that offers no guarantees. Such encounters reveal the raw precision of evolution. Reflexes honed over millennia, biochemical adaptation, and the subtle reading of movement and intention determine the balance between life and death. Each animal exists within this framework, neither heroic nor villainous, merely performing the role evolution has set for it. In these sun-bleached landscapes, survival is neither easy nor certain. Every breath, every measured step, and every calculated movement carries the weight of consequence. The mongoose's story is one of endurance, of finely tuned instincts meeting equal forces of danger, and a life asserting itself through awareness and action. And yet, for all its tension, there is rhythm here. The ecosystem continues, unbroken, unjudging. Predator and prey, hunter and competitor, all follow the same rules written by time, by adaptation, and by necessity. In this way, the land teaches its quiet truth. Survival is neither cruel nor kind, it simply is. The mongoose moves on, the scrubland breathes, and life persists precise, impartial, and